Hi, welcome to this video. If you don't know who I am surprised because I would assume you probably know who I am if you're watching this video. But if I have not met you and this is your first time watching a video, hello, I'm Landon. Nice to meet you. I just kind of wanted a longer form to communicate different things and process through things or share information that I have that's hopefully helpful to someone. The topic that I have for today is friendships and kind of the inner workings of that. So, a little bit of my backstory. I was born and raised in Northern California, and around 2017, I got the opportunity to move down to Southern California, San Diego, and I decided to pack up everything that I have and move somewhere where I did not know anybody. And looking back, I would definitely not make that decision again because that's crazy. But I'm really happy for being so naive in that situation and just moving and freaking it. I was working at Starbucks at the time and I was able to transfer into a Starbucks down here in San Diego and became really good friends with my manager, Blake BSAP Jones, Farquad, as some of us know him. Shout out to Blake. He was like the first friend that I had, and he was always really good at reaching out to me. I remember feeling really disconnected from people when I moved here because I felt like when I moved, I just was supposed to cut off any prior friendships that I had and like be in a new place and be all into it. And that was definitely the wrong approach because I ended up losing connection with a lot of my really good friends that I had had for my entire life leading up to moving. So with Blake, he would invite me out and I would be like, "Oh man, I'm super busy," but I would just be at home like looking at a wall because I was too anxious to go out and try to do new things and make new experiences. I wanted to feel wanted, but I didn't want to step out of my comfort zone in order to, you know, experience new things. So eventually I started agreeing to Blake, and he would take me to a different coffee shop every single week in San Diego and kind of show me around and the different neighborhoods and stuff. Because my understanding of good coffee at that point was Starbucks, because I was all in at Starbucks, love Starbucks. And so he kind of schooled me and took me to some third wave coffee shops and showed me just different things. And realistically, what he did was he was a good friend and put an olive branch out and didn't give up on me and gave me an opportunity to become his friend. And from that, I would say 90% of the connections that I have down in San Diego, I can trace back to Blake somehow. So shout out to Blake. I really appreciate him. But it really took me stepping out to what I was comfortable with at the time in order to make friends, because I feel like it's really hard to make friends. Like once you're not in school anymore, like that's something that not a lot of people talk about, but it feels like everyone knows about, is how hard it is to make friends as an adult. It's super weird. Like, oh, do you want to be my friend? When convenience is taken away of like seeing someone every single day, it's not as easy to maintain friendships for some reason. So it was really cool that he did what needed to be done in order to get me out of my shell, so to speak, because I would categorize myself at the time as an introvert 100%. If I could just stay locked in my room, I would 100% stay locked in my room and never have contact with other humans and be 100% okay, which is not really a healthy way to live, in my opinion, because I feel like we need people. That's probably why there are so many people on the planet. I do appreciate Blake for that. And additionally, he kind of showed me how to make friends because I think I didn't know how to make friends because again, every friendship that I had previously was just out of like being in the same radius or convenience with someone, like, oh, we go to school together, so now you're my friend because I see you every single day. And like that's cool, and I think that's how like kids establish those things. But what I've learned is like friendships, sometimes you have to like work for them and you have to fight for them. So with that being modeled to me, there was this guy who came in and trained at our store, and I was like, you know what? I think this guy is going to be my friend. And so this guy, I trained him, and I just felt this urge inside of me to be like, yo, after work, would you want to grab Jamba Juice? And that was the most terrifying thing to me in the whole world, because that was just not the way that I play, you know? So I did that, and he agreed, and we ended up hanging out. And fast forward in time, like, he is my brother now. He's my best friend. We lived together for a while. I was a part of his wedding. He's going to be a part of my wedding. And like, I established such a beneficial connection just from me stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit and being okay with him being like, no, that's weird. I don't want to go to Jamba Juice. And that's Matthias, for the record. So like, in that, I learned I have to, sometimes we have to be okay with being a little bit uncomfortable in order to establish friendships as adults. It is hard and it's awkward. And I think that as time has gone on, I've become more comfortable with myself. And I think through my friendships, I've understood more about myself, because I feel like we see ourselves every day. And so we don't recognize all the amazing things about ourselves. And that's the benefit of friendships, is if you have good friends, they're calling out all the really cool stuff about you. And you're like, oh yeah, I am pretty creative, or I am pretty outgoing. I am this, all these things that you wouldn't necessarily peg yourself as. But these people like brought that out in me. So now I'll go up to someone that I don't know very well, but I've like established a little bit of a rapport with, and I'll gauge it. I won't just jump from the rip and do this, but I'll be like, hey, let's be friends. What are you into? What do you like to do? Do you want to hang out? Cool. If you want to, cool. If you don't, that's okay too. And I think I just really want to be that Blake for other people. So I like to put myself out there more and more, but it's taken such a long process to get to that point. But the first step in that process for me was just starting to say yes. Like, when someone was like, hey, do you want to go get coffee? Yes. The worst thing is I lose like an hour of my life. It's okay to say yes to unknown things. And I know that's really hard when you have social anxiety, which I definitely had really high social anxiety at that point. But I had a few tools that I learned that really helped me. So if I were to go somewhere, I would typically drive myself. That way I had control over whether, like, when I left and how long I stayed. And then I also would take inventory of like where the door is to leave, so that if I needed to leave, I could leave. And I felt like those two things really helped me to feel a lot more comfortable in an uncomfortable situation, in an unknown situation, because I had control over leaving and staying. And even now, I feel like that kind of is a thing for me sometimes. I'll get invited to do something and I'm just like dreading it. And I have to still push myself to be like, no, I'm going to go. And every time I go, I always have a good time and I always stay longer than I anticipate, and create good memories and create connections that I otherwise would not have connected. It's still a process for me, but I think that these tools can help you in order to kind of get from A to B, not quite to Z yet, because I wouldn't say by any means I am an expert or have arrived in this. I'm still figuring stuff out. But these are the things that have helped me to be better at making friends and to put myself out there. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have to put yourself out there. I know it's a cliche, but cliches are cliche for a reason. And I want to make cliches are cliche for a reason a cliche. Because, I mean, there's just things that are true. With all that being said, I still, at that point in time, when, I was making friends in San Diego, I was neglecting the friendships that I had back home. And I was getting frustrated because, like, I felt forgotten, you know, but I wasn't reaching out at the same time, too. I wasn't making my needs known, because I don't even think I took inventory to understand my needs at that point. So when the big bad thing happened in 2020, I was forced to move back home with all these people who I hadn't really maintained a relationship with, and I hadn't been watering the relationship. And so I had a lot of anxiety and fear going into it, because now these people, some of them are married, some of them are just in completely different situations. And how do I fit into that? Especially with the whole thing that was going on. Like, how am I supposed to make friends when I can't even go outside? As the big bad thing started to cool down and we were able to go outside, my friend Drake, who, one of the most amazing friends ever, and he's always been a good friend to me, so I appreciate him. Shout out to Drake as well. He made sure to make me feel wanted and reestablish connection that we had lost because of me. And so I'll always be grateful for that. And again, like how Blake kind of showed me a path to making new friends, Drake kind of helped show me a path to reestablishing connections with friends that I had neglected because I was too prideful to reach out because I wanted them to reach out. And then I was mad because they didn't reach out, but I wasn't reaching out. So I had needs and I wasn't communicating needs. And so it just became this cycle where I just felt so lonely. So Drake helped in that process and helped reintroduce me to my friends. And the truth is, I couldn't relate to those people the way that I related to them like 3+ years ago. We're different people. We've grown so much. We've gone through so many things. So I almost had to create new friendships again. We have a history and we have things to fall back on, but I had to put in the effort to get to know these people again. What I had learned from when I had moved initially and neglected those people, I used. So while I was up north, I maintained contact with the people who I felt like I really wanted in my life throughout the entire time that I was gone. Because I was like, you know what, I'm going to do better this time and I'm going to be the one to reach out, even if it doesn't always feel like I don't always feel like it or I want to be wanted. And what I found in that is like, as I reached out, people would reach back out to me. And like what I wanted so badly the first time, that need was getting filled because I stepped out. I had to be uncomfortable again. So it was really cool to be able to have learned that lesson and then immediately put it into practice. So after a while of, reestablishing friendships and all these different things up north, I decided that I was going to move back down to San Diego. So I again had a little bit less, but I still had anxiety about re-entering these people's lives because I had been gone for a year. And so, the dynamic is just different. That's just the facts of life. So coming back, I moved back and then I just communicated that. I was like, hey, like, I have a little bit of anxiety and fear around like reconnecting with you guys. And by communicating that, it allowed the people who I wanted to maintain, that connection with to understand where I was coming from and to be like, oh, no, like we're good. Like this is what's been going on and this is what we're doing now. And I was able to really jump right back into things almost like I had never missed a beat. And I thought that was really cool. And that all came down again to me communicating something that was uncomfortable for me. And with me moving back, I made sure to maintain the connections with the people up north as well. And I talk to these people like every week. Like I love these people. They know what's going on in my life and I know what's going on in their life because these are people that I want to be friends with. And it just takes effort. I think a lot of times we get very prideful and we just want everything to come to us. And sometimes it's okay to push that down and just put yourself out there a little bit and allow your needs to be met. But I don't think that you can have your needs met if you don't understand what your needs are. I think that we were all built like we're just wired for connection. So I think it's important to seek out like the right connections with the right people. Every single person that I meet is not my best friend. And I have this like almost, I don't know, this way of looking at it towards like Macy, my fiance, 100% of my effort, energy, emotions, time, everything goes to her because she is the most important person to me in the whole world. And then my best friends slash brothers, sisters, whatever, like they're going to get my best. But there's also times when I can't. Whereas with Macy, like I will die trying. And then there are people that are kind of more casual friends. I'm only going to give them the amount that I can. And it just keeps going further and further and further. And I think understanding hierarchy, for lack of a better way of putting it, of like the relationships or just like putting it on a scale of like 1 to 5, 1 being like the most important, 5 being acquaintances, people that you rub shoulders with, being like, okay, realistically, where is this person in my life? Oh, this person is a 3. This is how much energy I'm going to put into this relationship. This is how much I can do, how much I can give. And then if you're like this person who's a 3, I really want to push up to a 2, then you're going to make a concerted effort to do so. But I think taking inventory of your friendships and understanding where you stand or how you relate is going to help you be a better friend in general, because you're going to know how much you can give, and you're not going to exhaust yourself by giving too much, and you're not going to, hurt the relationship by giving too little. I think it's important to have that evaluation. I also think it's important to make sure that you understand your needs and you communicate them. There's times when I'll sit down with a friend who I have a lot of value for, and I'll be like, hey, do you feel like I'm doing my part in this relationship? Do you feel like I'm giving enough? Is there something I could be doing better? And I think those conversations can be uncomfortable, and they are uncommon for some reason, and we should normalize that, because I think the people that are important to you need to know that they're important to you. I've really tried to just tell people how much I love them, or the value that I see in them, and how important they are to me on a more consistent basis, rather than just on occasion, because it'll have more oomph if I only say it every once in a while. If you care so much but nobody knows that you care, there's no point. It's like that dad that never says that he loves you, and then he says it once before he like passes away, or before this certain scenario, and it's like really cool that he did do that. But like, what would it be like if he was constantly affirming his child? How much more loved would that person feel if they had constant affirmation? And I'm not just like pulling up to people and being like, yeah, I love you so much, da 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 da. It's obviously within reason, and when I feel like it's needed in the relationship. But again, I have to understand where that person like lays for me on that scale, and what I can give, how much I want to invest in that relationship, in order to know when to say these things and when to do these things. So overall, I am definitely not the expert on friendship, and I'm sure that there are times when I fall short in my friendships, but these are things that I feel as if I've learned and are really helpful tools in maintaining friendships and establishing new ones and deepening existing ones, that I just kind of wanted to share with you guys. It's kind of weird talking to a camera, because I'm more of a one-on-one conversation person, as most people who know me know, but I wanted this to feel like we're just sitting across from each other. And I just really hope that something that I said was helpful, or just added a tool to your tool belt. If you have any additional tools, thoughts, or questions, I guess I would love for you to drop a comment, and I would hope to have an answer. I do not have all the answers, definitely. I am an expert by no means, but I just want to communicate like my own feelings and my own experience, and hopefully that can be something that encourages you or helps you out. Because for me, my favorite quote of all time, it is tattooed on my body, because I am a living cliche. Be the change that you want to see in the world. By, communicating these things rather than just keeping them to myself, I'm like communicating the change that I've made for myself, and hopefully offering that to you if you want to make a change in your own life, or you want to deepen connection with other people. So again, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate your time and attention. If this ends up on YouTube, I think that I'm supposed to ask you to like and subscribe. I think it'd be kind of cool if you did. I really like doing this, and I feel like I'm only going to become more and more comfortable in front of the camera. So, you can watch the journey of my growth and stuff, because this is me being uncomfortable and stepping out beyond just, the people in front of me. So, again, thank you so much. And yeah, I'll hopefully see you soon.